Hello guys, Learn Day Today here, and I'm back with another Genshin Impact video. And today we will gonna talk about Rosaria's kit and what role she does fill in the team, her weapons, artifacts, and team compositions, and a little bit of damage showcase based on a free-to-play perspective. And since she's in the current Albedo Eula banner, I think this is the perfect time to talk about her because there might be new players looking out for some tips on how to build her. So without further ado, let's jump right straight into it. Rosaria is a very versatile unit that can be your main DPS or can be used as a sub DPS or support character, whatever you call it. Not to mention, her element is Cryo, which gives you an access to melt reaction, and melt is the strongest elemental reaction so far in the game. And by the way, her elemental bursts have no internal cooldown, which means every time your burst procs, it will cause elemental reaction. And her burst can also snapshot. It means all the buffs that you have upon casting your burst will still remain even though the buff expires. Her elemental skill lets you teleport behind enemies, hitting them twice, dealing cryo damage. And this skill works along with her first passive, which increases her crit rate every time she hits an opponent from behind. Her elemental burst Rites of Termination summons an ice lance on the field that deals damage over time for 8 seconds and also increases the character's crit rate except Rosaria for 15% of Rosaria's total crit rate. Now let's talk about her weapon. Please note that all of the 5-star pole arms is way better compared to these 4-star pole arms that we will be talking to. So if you have 5-star weapon for her, there's no question that it is more efficient to use them as your weapon, okay? So if you're planning to use her as your main DPS, Crescent Pike and Dragon Spine Spear from the Blacksmith is a pretty good option, but I will recommend you to craft Crescent Pike instead of Dragon Spine Spear because it has a higher base attack and have a better passive compared to Dragon Spine Spear. Wavebreaker's Fin is also good on her overall, but this is a gacha weapon which everyone doesn't have. For burst support Rosaria or sub DPS, the Catch is a very good weapon since it has energy recharge as a main stat, and its passive will boost the damage of your elemental burst. Everyone can get this weapon through fishing, so this is a pretty good weapon for her. Favonius Lance can also be an option if you haven't acquired the Catch yet. And for a reverse melt Rosaria, Dragon's Bane shines exceptionally well compared to the other weapons because of the elemental mastery main stats and due to this weapon's passive that increases her damage if the enemy is affected by pyro. It further enhances her damage more along with 4-piece Lava Walker, which we will gonna talk about later on in the artifact section. Speaking of artifacts, if you're running Rosaria on a free Steam as your main DPS, 4-piece Blizzard Strayer is the perfect set for her for a 15% cryo damage bonus and a 20% crit rate increase if the enemy is affected by cryo. On top of that, if the enemy is frozen, you gain an additional 20% more crit rate. I know that farming this set is quite hard, so you can temporarily use 2-piece Blizzard Strayer and 2-piece Gladiator or Shiminawa for a 15% cry damage bonus and then additional 18% attack. Now if you want to use Rosaria as your burst support sub DPS, 4-piece Noblesse Oblige is what I recommend if none of your team members is utilizing the 4-piece set bonus, because 4-piece set bonus will give you 20% increased damage on her elemental burst and then 20% attack boost for the team for 12 seconds. Please do keep in mind that Noblesse buff doesn't stack, so if you have another character that's utilizing the 4-piece set bonus, You can instead build her with 2-piece Nubla Sublage and 2-piece Gladiator or Shiminawa for a 20% increase on her burst damage plus an additional 18% on her attack. Now, 4-piece Lava Walker is a pretty niche set to be used on her, but this is a very good set that you can throw on her if you've been farming for Crimson Witch for your Pyro main DPS. And if you've been farming this domain, most likely you have tons of Lava Walker in your inventory. So investment wise, equipping this set on Rosaria make her pretty busted because of the 4-piece set bonus that you can get. And if you have Dragon's Bane along with this set, trust me, she will hit like a truck using this 4-piece Lava Walker set. Based on my own experience, by the way, since I'm using Klee as my main Pyro DPS, and I love playing with Rosaria, to be honest, Klee applies Pyro so fast that it's really good to put Rosaria along with her, since Rosaria's elemental burst doesn't have internal cooldowns. So using a Lava Walker set plus Dragon's Bane is a very effective build on Rosaria. And regarding on your artifacts main stat, you need to focus on attack percent on your sands, cryo damage goblet, and then crit rate or crit damage on your circlet. By the way, regarding on the main stats on her sands, so it's a case-to-case scenario. So you want attack percent most of the time actually, but if you're having a hard time with your energy regeneration rate, you can use energy recharge instead to have 100% uptime every time your elemental burst cools down. But if you're using the catch, actually this mostly compensate the energy regeneration problem that Rosaria have. Or you can also use another cryo character, for example Diona, to generate more cryo particles to make her elemental burst available every time it cools down. Now let's talk about her Constillation. So C1, every time Rosaria lands a critical hit on the enemy, it increases her attack speed by 10% and increases her normal attack by 10% for 4 seconds. Her Constillation 2 increases her elemental burst duration by 4 seconds. And if you're aiming for Rosaria's Constillation, this is the best Constillation that you can go after for a minimal investment. Constillation 3 increases 3 levels on her elemental skill. Constillation 4 gets her 5 energy every time her elemental skill do critical hit. Constellation 5, 3 levels on her elemental burst. Her Constellation 6 decreases the enemy's physical defense by 20% for 10 seconds. So Constellation 6, this is most likely focusing on a main DPS Rosaria. But Rosaria is really good even at Constellation 0. But if you want to get some of her constellations, Constellation 2 is the best one to go for. Now let's talk about her team comp. So you can throw her in almost any freeze team available, but there are lots of questions of which one is better, Kaya or Rosaria on a freeze team. Well, Kaya is way better, to be honest, than Rosaria for a freeze comp, because Kaya applies cryo so fast and his burst follows the active character in the field. But they do have different utility to bring into the table. So Rosaria's burst gives additional crit rate on your team every time you cast her elemental burst. So if you need just a cryo applicator, Kaya is way better than Rosaria. But utility wise, I go with Rosaria for an increase on the critical rate. She also shines on a melt and superconduct team composition. So if you have Xiangling, Yoimiya, Klee, Diluc, or any other Pyro main DPS, Rosaria is pretty good on doing her role as a sub DPS. For a superconduct team comp, you can pair her with Fischl, Beidou, Raiden Shogun, or even Kujosara to gain Superconduct elemental reaction. So Superconduct decreases the enemy's physical defense by 40%. So for freeze comp, and by the way, this will be on a free-to-play perspective, okay? So for freeze comp, you can use Rosaria together with a Hydro character like Xingqiu, Mona if you have her, she's really good, or Barbara. The third member will be Diona to act as your healer and shielder, and a cryo battery as well since she generates a lot of cryo particles. Or you can also use Kaya if you don't have Diona. The fourth member is pretty much flexible, but you can throw in Sucrose for a crowd control access so that you can group the enemies easily and freeze them. But if you're using Rosaria, you don't have healer on your team, Bennett is a great addition to your team composition. For a melt comp, any Pyro main DPS will do the job, but Xiangling is pretty good for a 4-star character, and everyone can get her for free actually after beating third floor of the Spiral Abyss. So the composition will be Rosaria, Xiangling, any cryo battery like Kaya or Diona, and then the fourth character will be flexible as well, so you can throw in Sucrose or Bennett. So that's pretty much it for melt comp. A Superconduct team is really good on a physical build main DPS Rosaria, so you can throw in Rosaria, and the second and third team member can be any of the Electro characters like Fischl, Kujusara, Raiden Shogun, or Beidou. Then the fourth one can be Diona or Bennett for extra utility like healing, shield, and buff. Now before we wrap this up, let me show you some damage showcase here at the end of this video on my free-to-play account. So we will gonna cover the melt team and then the Superconduct team on a quick swap basis. So let's jump straight into it. Okay, so before we proceed, let me show you my Rosaria's stats here. 45.4% crit rate, 132 critical damage, 119 energy recharge, and a 46.6 cry damage bonus. So that's her current stats. Wavebreaker Spin for the weapon, level 80. Artifacts, 4-piece Lava Walker. Then attack on Sands, cry damage bonus on Goblet, and critical damage Circlet. Constellation, we got Constellation 2, talents 868. So that's pretty much it on my Rosaria stats as a sub DPS.
Go, Barbara, go!
Let's use Barbara here first to destroy this one because we need Hydro for that. Okay, he's down. Let's pop Bennett's ult here. Then Xiangling's first. And then Rosaria's first. 23k, okay? 20k. Nice. The crit is not consistent yet because RNG exists. It's really hard to farm for a perfect artifact. Now, these are my main DPS physical build Rosaria. I know there are tons of improvement on this build that I have right now. I got 68 crit rate, 107 critical damage. Okay, 133 energy recharge, 46.6 cry damage bonus because I'm using a cry damage goblet. Physical damage 50%. Weapon Wavebreaker Spin. I don't have resources yet to level up Dragon Spine Spear to do more physical damage as well as my goblet. So I'll stick with this one first. Stats wise and substats wise, so I got here attack, cry damage bonus on the goblet, and critical rate on my circlet. There's a lot of improvement to work on this physical Rosaria build. Right now I don't have my physical goblet yet, and my weapon for physical damage as well. But this will be the minimal that I can do right now for my Rosaria. She's still on Constellation 2, talents 868. Okay, so let's jump right straight into the showcase. Now let's go with this one. Let's use Bennett first to destroy this.
By royal decree.
Put this one here. Okay, he's down. Pop Kratos burst here. Then there we go, Rosaria. 4k physical, 10k physical damage, 9-7. My equipments and artifacts are trash, so to be honest with you, she can do more damage than what we've seen so far, 10k. There are a lot of improvements for this build, so that's it, pretty much everything, guys. So I hope I was able to give you a quick preview on what Rosaria can do as your main DPS and as your burst support. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and if you find this video helpful, please do leave a thumbs up. Comment down on the comment section below on what you think or any suggestions so far that you have in mind, and sub to the channel if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, because I do make videos on builds, guides as well, everything that is related to Genshin Impact, all that good stuff. So that's pretty much it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoy watching the video. Thank you so much for watching, and see you on the next video, guys. Peace out.